Mark here, Mark's Max Muscle, and today we are taking a look at Eward Kawak versus Samir Bannout. Now, we all know who Samir Bannout is, but many of you probably don't know who Eward Kawak is. I am very familiar with this man. In fact, he was my third video that I did on this channel. So there is a special place in my heart. Actually, one of the very first ever comparisons that I did on my channel was between Eward Kawak and Roy Callender. And it was actually hosted by a very good friend of mine by the name of Josh O'Leary. And I was actually looking at that old video, and he gave some nice words about Eward Kawak and Roy Callender because, you know, we all know Arnold, guys like that. But just before I begin the comparison, I would like to show one clip.
It just goes to show that there are some few underdogs out there that didn't get recognized for the dedication they put into this sport. It was lots of fun to be a host for this challenge round. Oh, and don't forget to leave your feedback and comments on the bottom of the page. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe now. I'm Josh O'Leary for Mark's Max Muscle.
Wow, truer words were never spoken. These guys do deserve respect. Guys like Eward Kawak. But let us begin with a front double biceps pose. Used to wrestle with that guy, by the way. So, you know, if you were just so happen to be a professional wrestler, you know it's a brotherhood. You trust your life with these guys, and you remain friends forever. Except for that General Deuce. I don't know what happened to that guy. Wow. Eward Kawak, we are using a ensemble of versions. I guess ensemble is not really the right word for that. Just a smorgasbord. You know, like a potluck dinner. There's just different versions of him because there's no one true solid version. He sure looks good here. Competed at the Olympia a handful of times, but never really placed well. He got into the top 10 in 87, I think. But he was a NABBA pro. He won the NABBA title, the NABBA Universe, more times than anyone ever, even Reg Park, if I'm not mistaken anyway. So, using this version here, he's absolutely defeating Samir Bannout. He's way better. Condition, you can't really see. But look at the muscles on this man. Now here's the front lat spread. Also a very good shot for Eward Kawak. Just think, guys. This is Samir Bannout from 1983. He was awesome. There's not many bodybuilders that can get an edge over this man or this version of Samir. He wasn't known for nailing it all the time. He was known for just nailing it that one time. But Eward Kawak, using this mixed version, or mixed grab bag of goodies versions of him, yeah, he's beaten Samir. Now turn to the side. Okay. This is a little vexing. Little bit annoying. No on-stage shots of Eward Kawak hitting that side chest. And I believe that at one time, he would have had one of the best side chests in the IFBB. I think he was in the gym training. He looked pretty peeled here, if I'm not mistaken. Probably before he carved up. Pretty good condition, I think. Maybe not as tight as Samir's, but who knows, who knows. Side tricep. This is a photo shoot of our friend, Eward Kawak. So, I am sure some people would suggest that it's unfair. Is it fair that he placed oh so low at the Olympia? Or was politics in play because he was a former NABBA Universe Champion? That happens a lot. I believe Charles Claremont, he was NABBA Pro, and then went to the IFBB. What happened to him? Huh? There's a lot of other guys, too. Not just them two. Many. So, from the front and from the side, using the pictures that we had available, I mean, Eward Kawak, he's just as good or better than Samir Bannout. Which is crazy when you think about how good Samir Bannout is. But then we turn to the back. And this is actually competition where they competed together, and it's not even close. I was excited about Eward Kawak. He could get a victory over Samir Bannout, the NABBA Universe Champion versus the Olympia Champion, but the condition is night and day. Was Eward Kawak ever tighter than this? Glutes, hamstrings, back even? Versus Samir Bannout? I just don't see it. Now go to the mandatory shots, and I know these photo shoots are all we have to go off of. You find me an on-stage picture, not a screenshot, on-stage picture of Eward Kawak, and I'll give you 2 toonies and a loony. I'm here to tell you. But using these ones, his condition, it's just not as tight, I don't think, as Samir Bannout. Samir Bannout. Little tongue-tied. And he's probably his most conditioned. It looks like he's pretty tight here anyway, at the gym. Here's the rear double, without further ado, I guess. They weren't going to give me much more time on that rear lat spread. But really, what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to tell you that Eward Kawak, his shape, his lat insertions, just as good or better than Samir Bannout's? Probably not. And I know the condition is not as tight. Glutes, hamstrings, not that they judged glutes or even looked at them back then. They were scared. I'm not going to look at a man's bum. Oh, come on. It's just glutes. Just a muscle. But, yes, Samir Bannout. Best back double bi in the history of bodybuilding. More than likely. And here's the abs and thigh. I can almost hear you guys. What about Phil Heath? What about Ronnie Coleman? I'll do a poll right now. And I guarantee you, Samir would win. The back double. More people would suggest that he has the better back double bi. For his time. Don't give me that crap. Oh, if Ronnie competed in the 80s, he'd be huge. He'd be the same size as the other guys in the 80s. Maybe a little bit bigger. No bigger than Haney. Samir, good abs and thigh. Solid abs and thigh. And Eward Kawak, he is every step of the way along with Samir Bannout. I don't know if that made sense or not. He's just as good in the abs and thigh. So very peeled, almost crisp from the front. It was Eward Kawak, but maybe not as crispity crunchity from the back. And here is the most muscular. Again, I have to apologize. A lot of gym photos for our friend Eward Kawak. Now, it is worth to mention the camera angle alone distorts the size. It seems to be up and over and maybe a little too close to Kawak. You need to go back and then maybe down a little bit. Of course, Samir, the camera for him's down too low, I think. Makes the legs look bigger. And in Edward's case, makes the legs actually look smaller. And that's crazy when you think about it. Look at the size of his quads. Massive big teardrops. I think Eward Kawak had the biggest teardrops in the world. Dorian might have had some pretty big ones. But having said that, guys, it's obvious. Samir Bannout, he would get the victory over this guy because of condition. In particular, the back shots. Because from the front, Eward Kawak, he's a beast. And the fact remains, there was some versions like this one here. And we'll end the screen with this here. Samir Bannout versus Eward Kawak. And like I said, the fact remains that this guy was in his best condition in the NABBA promotion. And there's not a single back shot to be had. So it's possible. It's possible that in 1983, when Eward Kawak he won the NABBA Pro Universe, it's possible that the NABBA champion was just as good as the IFBB champion. Sure looks like it here. And this is not Samir from 83, by the way. You look at Bob Paris over there thinking, I was robbed. They didn't pick me because of my preference. That's not true, Bob Paris. It takes much more than a great front relaxed position to win the Olympia title. Actually, I think Bob beat Edward Kawak at that very Olympia. Samir beat them both, but nowhere near the condition that he was here in this picture. Edward Kawak. Wow, he was good. And that's it, guys, gals. That was the comparison. It's been a while since I've done an Edward Kawak one, but trust me, like I said, the third video I did, and then it was one of my first videos anyway, or the very first comparisons that I did, hosted by my friend Josh O'Leary, who still wrestles right today, by the way. He goes by the moniker Zane Valentine. Good name, huh? Zane? Yeah? Frank Zane? Yeah? Anyway, go find him and follow him. Tell him Mark's Max Muscle sent you. Have a great one, folks.